Hello, welcome back to All for United WFC. Barry was with us. He's now not. We don't know where he is. Well, we know where he is. He just can't connect, which is not not ideal. My headphones are dying. I don't know what's going on. So, Barry is back, I believe. So I think Barry might be able to take over should his internet be able to take it. But welcome all. Make sure you get your comments in over the next hour or so. It's going to be a slightly shorter show than we usually do, but we are going to be discussing the new head of women's football. Let's get Barry in. Let's switch us all around. Musical chairs. Here we go. Oh, now we're all
Hello, and welcome.
Right, go on, Barry. You take it away if you can hear us.
Oh, I'll tell you something, Connie. You can question my professionalism, you can question my looks, but you can never question my commitment. Look at me here. I am stuck. Last week, we sat here and we had a beautiful scenery of sunny Scotland. Today, Crawley service stations. And I'll tell you what, it's slightly better. Got to be honest, slightly better. What an evening we've got planned for you. It's a short one. Going to have to be a bit shorter because I am not convinced that Connor's going to be able to maintain his usual dignity in the middle there. But even though it's a short one, we've got loads of good stuff to talk about. And as Connor's already alluded to, yes, absolutely, TJ, situation is normal. We're going to be talking about Polly Bancroft. And we're hoping that she's touted to be the first head of women's football for Manchester United Football Club. So we have had a little bit of a hunt around for some information about her. And so we're going to have a little chat about her. That will be the main topic of the day. Then we've got a little aside, a little bit of a palate cleanser for you just before we finish from Marty, which I'm quite looking forward to. And then I can travel the other 2 hours back to Stevenage and hope that at that point the M6 has sorted its life out. So we shall find out. But until then, look at my lovely panel. Geniuses to a man, woman and child. It's all good. Let's begin. Ellie, how are you? You all right?
Yeah, I'm brilliant. Glad the WSL season's starting now.
No, she's frozen. So let's try Marty. Are you okay?
She hasn't, Barry. That's just you.
Actually, I heard Ellie just fine, Barry. So go work on your connection. I'm doing good. It's Friday. Friday's always wonderful here. So, and it's not raining, which is good.
Just wait for the delay.
Is it me or? Shall I just go?
Yeah, just go.
Hearing Corley either, which is rather fantastic. Stu, lovely to have you back on the show.
Yeah, thanks.
Finally getting you back here. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, not bad. It's been a while actually. To be fair, I've been doing a lot more on the men's side, tactically, etc. But in other news, I've actually gone out and bought the paint at last. I've just got to pay the kids to do the room. So that's in other news. But no, nice to be back. And yeah, let's hope for a great WSL season. To be fair, I'd like to, and we'll go into this, I know, but I'd like to see Skinner kick on this time, get his tactics far sharper than what he produced last season, and I'd like to see a bit of player grit and determination this season. So. But I'm sure as the season transpires, Connor can grill me over that, or you can.
Absolutely. And Charlie, how are you getting on? Lovely to have you back. She is, ladies and gentlemen. Can we have a round of applause for not just any old Charlie, but Prediction League winning Charlie Coxon. Round of applause, everybody. Well done.
Thank you. Loads of people to thank. I might forget some. Parents, children, everyone played a part. But yeah, absolute pleasure. Can't wait to smash you all in the WSL Predictions League as well. And celebrate 2-time winner. It'll become there. Yeah, looking forward to tonight's show. Should be the women's director of football should be the most important signing we make, but I know we'll go into a little bit more detail about that. But yeah, exciting show to be a part of tonight.
Awesome. And Connor, the man who is behind the scenes, the minion that I have put in to make sure that all is well should my 4G turn out to be something to forget. How are you, Connor? You good?
Yes, all good. I will just point out, though, I'm not making Barry stream from this. I didn't go, but I don't care where you are. You are doing this show. Just to point out there, I'm not a dictator owner of this channel, but it was Barry's option the host. I thought I'd get that out there straight away, just in case people think I'm some nightmare boss. But no, all good, and happy to talk this. It's been a while. This story came out, God knows when, that we were looking. Early March, I think it was back then. So it's been a while. Yes, Barry.
Absolutely has. Absolutely. And I think the thing that we need to look at when it comes to, I'm catching up. The thing that we need to look at when it comes to Polly Bancroft is the jobs that she's done. And she has been a camp director, a lecturer, a women and girls football development officer, a senior development officer. She's worked for the Football Foundation. She's been the girls' head coach for Whisper It Leeds under 17s. She's been the women's football's national project manager in the FA. She's been a business development specialist. She's a trustee for Albion and the community. And currently, as things stand, until we guarantee that we have her, she's the general manager at Brighton and Hove Albion Football Club. So if she does come as the head of women's football here at Manchester United, my question really, and we're not going to muck about here, I'm going to say the question. We're going to let it go round all the way, as we've just done, round to Connor, because quite frankly, I'm not sure my head can take it watching you people see, like, are you speaking, Barry? What's happening? I can't take it. It does my nut. So the questions are very simple. First of all, is it going to be any good? Is this a signing that we need? Do we look at the job description and what it is that Polly Bancroft actually is meant to do? Yes, she's looking after the day-to-day business. She's got to, and this is the big thing for me, and Marty, I really want you to pick up on this one, the development and improvement of a playing style and philosophy. Now, I know that's something you're all about. You love your style and your philosophy and all of that sort of jazz. But to me, I feel like that's a Mark Skinner job. So it's very interesting that that's in the job description. This head of women's football will need to do that across all women's football teams, not just the senior team. There's also the talk about a playing and training environment being an elite one. And Charlie and Ellie specifically, I'd like you two to jump in on that one. When you consider the talk we've had about the Etihad and the Academy Stadium and everything that goes alongside that, that's something that she could potentially take hold of. And bearing in mind, this is Brighton and Hove Albion, who've only released that vision where they paid £6 million into the women's game. They've got training. They've got this 5-point plan, I think it was, that we spoke about in a previous fans forum. It was amazing what they've done there. So if she can do that there at Brighton and Hove Albion, is it going to be a case of she's going to come to the likes of John Murtough and say, right, well, give me £6 million and I'll give you a women's football team to be proud of, or even more proud of than we already are. She takes charge of organising pre-season friendlies. Bit pointless now. We've got all of those, but there's always next year, I suppose. She's got to look after recruitment and budget management, and I think that's another big one there. Recruitment. That pretty much all of the signings we're going to make this year, we've got a bit of a worry, I think, there in terms of this year as to what she's actually going to step in and do. And the last thing that they mentioned that I thought was worth looking at was contract management, availability, usage, and maintenance. That's going to be a big one. And Connor, I'd like you to really throw in on that one if you can as well. How important is it going to be for her to sort out the contracts of the likes of Alessia Russo, people that we've mentioned over the last few weeks? And by all means, Mr. Tactical Analysis Man Stu, do pop in as well with the development improvement style question as well, along with Marty. That would be awesome. I've had a lovely little monologue. I'm going to mute myself and listen to the dulcet tones of a fantastic panel. Kicking off with Ellie. Off you go.
So I think I really do think it's just what we needed, because obviously we've not, these last few months we've been like, where's our head of football? We need someone to come in and help manage the club, because last season, yeah, it was a really good season for us, but it weren't just as expected, because we wanted to finish third or in the top 3. And I just think she can come in now and make a real difference. So not all the pressure's on Mark. It can be equal now. So Mark can actually, manage the side and not have everything else in his head like that he's got to do. So I think she'll come in and she'll make a real difference I hope anyway, and she'll invest in like we want like what the Academy Stadium has. We want something near Old Trafford. Maybe that's something she can do as well, and just make it a real good like more of a good atmosphere at Leeds Sports Village, as we mentioned on previous shows. So I think she can come in and really change it. Hopefully, anyway, because that's what we've all wanted.
I think Marty wants you to go straight in. I think it's going round. I never know which way around it is. Anti-clockwise, clockwise, go around that way anyway. And you're on mute as well, Marty, so he can't actually hear you. We are very professional all tonight, WFC, by the way.
I apologize. My mouse was not cooperating. I like her CV. Her CV is stuffed chock full of everything that you absolutely want to have. I would have liked to have seen her to be at Brighton Hove Albion, and I probably butchered that name, for more than what she was there for, between the 2 and a 3 year period, as opposed to as soon as she got that 1 year in, she was out of there. I think that she probably had a very good hand in having the Amex be a part of the Women's World Cup. I think that the fact that she had the foresight to realize that the place could be filled in that type of, competition and tournament is something we want on board. I'm disappointed to learn as to who she is reporting to. She is reporting to John Murtaugh, who is the men's football director. So instead of having the women's football director report to who John Murtaugh reports to, she is under him on the organizational chart, which means everything that she would like to do is going to have to go through him. Okay. I do not see that as being a win, so to speak, for the women's club, for the women's side. With regards to philosophy of playing and style, bottom line, we've already discussed this in terms of why are the academy players now all of a sudden going out on loan? And everybody's saying, well, they need to be seasoned. They need to be seasoned. I think it just has to do with, the jump off point of, they need to be developed to the point where they can just slide in very, very quickly and reasonably, with the senior women's team. Okay. For any development group or squad or team that you have lower in what I would refer to as the minor leagues, or in the NWSL, it would be the college system, the NCAA system. You always have a small percentage of those that can really make the jump. Okay. So, but we need to have a path, because obviously we are attracting talent. We can identify talent. We do have that ability to do that. We have the Tunes. We have Carrie Jones. We have Tara Bourne. We have a number of players, Ebony Salwin, that are going to be on your England national team later, or on the national team. Carrie Jones is always on the Welsh national team. Okay. You have the talent identification process already in hand. The problem that I see is that you're not able to take advantage of them because they don't jump. They can't. They have to come up to speed, and you're loaning them out so that they come up to speed. And I just find that very inefficient. But I find it inefficient. Yeah, she's going to pay attention and make sure that who's ever on board has license to be on board and has the license to actually do the job that they're supposed to be doing. But her professional track, so to speak, to me indicates that it could be a very symbiotic relationship, in that she gets out of Man United what she wants, which is going to a bigger club, making a bigger difference, okay, kicking butt at Man United. But she's taken it for those reasons. The fact that she is willing to take it, that the women's director is going to be under the men's director, tells me this is not a long-term vision for her. because it's not a long-term vision for Man United. And that disappoints me. Good hire, just not long-term. I would have liked to see better.
I actually think her first role has got to be the environment. She's got to sort the environment out so that when the women are coming in, they're coming into a similar environment to what the men are doing. This has got nothing to do with the World Cup. This is something I brought up 12 months ago, Connor. The environment is actually key to getting the very best out of a footballer. And she needs to come in. She should be negotiating this when she started talking about, when she started talking to United, whenever that was. She should be making it very, very clear her priority all the way down to, the minimal type of stuff that she needs. If you are going to give her a massive shovel and she's got a shovel, but she's shoveling different areas, you then don't concentrate on the main areas you need to concentrate on. You concentrate on the majority of it. And it doesn't work in football. It doesn't work in junior football. And it certainly doesn't work in, at the elite level. So if we want to be an elite football club, if we want to have the players to be comfortable in their environment, that's the key element. If she goes into Carrington on Monday, for example, and she has a meeting with John Murto, and he's saying, well, what's your priority? The priority will be, let's get everything up to scratch. I want hotels the same as the men's. I want the coaches the same as the men's. I want the equipment the same as the men's. I want everything to be duplicated by the men's. So that what she can do, or what Skinner can do, he can then liaise on a regular basis with Ten Hag about the different types of philosophies that he can bring and Skinner can bring. See, the biggest problem that we had last season was our tactics. Tactically, we were absolutely awful. No, that's got a lot to do with the type of profile of player that we started the season with, players playing out of position. And once we got those players that came back in and started to play the positions that were correct for them, we started to go on that run. But she should have identified, Polly, and I hope she has, and I hope she's gone to Murto or whoever, Skinner, and say, well, look, it was the right thing not to be in the Champions League for this season because we're not ready. We wouldn't have got past the first round in the Champions League. We've got this gulf in terms of our playing style, and we've got the gulf in terms of the players. And sometimes you've got to be the bigger person and look at it and say, you know what, we're not ready for it. We're not, if we're going to have an assault on the Champions League, we've got to be ready to go and win it. So I think it's a good idea. I don't like, I'm with Marty on this, I don't think we should report to Murto. She needs a budget. See you, John. This is my budget and I'll do with it what I need. And if she did that, you can then put your vision together for the next 2 to 3 years, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take a long time to make us anywhere near comfortable at the very, very, very elite of women's football. And unfortunately, people will disagree with me. Absolute load of rubbish. What do you mean we should have been in the Champions League, etc., etc., etc.? What's the point of you getting battered week in, week out? Look what England did to Latvia or whoever it was. They beat them 20-0. If we're going to Barcelona and getting absolutely battered 5, 6, 7-0, you don't learn anything as a club. So that's what she's got to do. That's what she's got to consider. As I say, it's not what people want to hear, but it will give a foundation so the players can take that step up. So it does give us an opportunity to compete at the very, very highest level.
I think she's, on the face of it, she looks like a good bit of recruitment, because she clearly knows football and she knows women's football. And I think for a little while, there was sort of rumblings that we might get someone in who'd had nothing to do with women's football before and had no idea, which I think would have been an issue. And she clearly is an expert in the area. I think you don't get important roles in UEFA and in the FA, particularly as a female, just by accident. It doesn't happen by accident. So she must have a lot of expertise. Lots of her roles are to do with managing people and the commercial and media side of bits and pieces. And obviously, we've said the pathway to the top 4 for Brighton, which everyone's been really impressed by how that looks. She's put a lot of work into that. So she clearly understands how to get clubs on a trajectory and then put plans in place to get them to where they need to be. With regards to, Barry wanted me to focus in on this idea of elite facilities and resources for the players. Yes, she should be in charge of that, but as long as she's got the money and things to do so. It'd be like my head teacher just coming to me and going, Charlie, we need everyone in year 11 to get a 9 in maths, and then providing nothing in which for me to do that and just expecting it to happen. So you'd have to assume when you look at that job description, which is 21 points long, I think, that she's going to be given the resources to do that. Now, in lots of ways, the resource I also think needs to be manpower. Because like Stu said, if she has to take on every single one of those 21 points and do everything to do with them, so lead them, plan them, implement them, evaluate them, that's impossible. So I would hope that what's going to follow on from this are other people in positions that she will then be able to oversee and direct and be the focal point for that. Because obviously we've talked about when I think one of the biggest issues for Casey Stoney as well was that she was having to do everything. Coach, train, manage, organise match day issues, scout, everything, medical. She was doing all of it. And yes, Skinner's now not that person. It's Polly, but she still can't do all of that. And I would hope that Man United have got her in because they know she will do a good job and they will also give her the resources to do that. I said before, my only worry is that it's still this same board. It's still the same Man United board, which will always worry me, not just from a female perspective, Stu Smirking, but from a male, from any Man United club football team perspective, it would always worry me a little bit. So I'm hoping, like Stu said, that she's coming and she sort of said this as part of her interview process. She said, yeah, I want this job, but this is what I want to do. And this is what I need to be able to do it. And if she has done that and they've said, yep, fine, that's excellent news. If she hasn't done that, then we'll be no worse off, but we'll be no better off either.
Yeah, I tend to agree with what everyone said, to be honest. I know Barry is waiting backstage. I'll bring Barry back in a second. But yeah, I think from my point of view, her CV is pretty stacked. Like everyone said, I think you're looking at a person there who clearly knows what they're doing in these kinds of roles. I also agree with what Stu and Charlie, what you two were just talking about in terms of the job list was very long. And it's like, if she's got to do all of that on her own, now she probably won't, with recruitment, she's going to be sitting down with Skinner. Skinner will give her a list and say, these are the kind of players I want. They'll have a look. I'm really simpling it down here, but they'll have a little chat about it. They'll go away, see if they can go and get those players. You'll have target 1, you'll have target 2, 3, and so on for every position that Skinner wants. So from that sense, I think yes, but it's a difficult one for me because I think you've got John Murto, who's, I think someone can correct me if I'm wrong here, his official job title is Director of Football. Now, obviously, this is Head of Women's Football, so it's slightly different. To me, you'd put those alongside each other and you'd have those two working together. Because ultimately, I don't actually know who is above John Murto other than the Glazer family. So then you're reporting directly to the top. So then you're looking at you'd argue that's what you want to do. So yeah, it's a tough one from my point of view because I don't know who else she would report into other than John. Because unless she's going alongside him and then she's reporting right to the top, so you can't get any higher than that. I'm gonna try and bring Barry back in. I don't know whether he's here or not. See if he is. I can see him. But
new hashtag. Better 4G at Corley. That's what we need. Forget hashtag Hanson in. 4G at Corley. Need some work. The plus side is I've listened to what a lot of you have got to say there, and that's been really interesting listening to the various different points. What I will say though, I heard Stu mention about the budgets and all that sort of thing. I think that is quite literally her job, to be given the budget and to spend the money within that budget. And I presume that whereas we make the argument that Skinner will live and die by the signings that he makes, equally, she will live and die by the results of those signings. If the signings are good, fantastic. If the signings are not so good, ultimately, she'll be the one to fall on her sword, I think, for that one. But the next bit that I wanted to just sort of jump to quickly there, because I hadn't mentioned it in the day-to-day running, was there's also meant to be some work done between the path from the academy through to the first team. And I think Marty sort of briefly touched on that as well. And so I kind of just wanted to just sort of run through quickly one more time around you all. First of all, do we see a potential route for any of the girls that are in our academy still? Because I still feel like there's just too big of a jump from academy football to playing at the elite WSL level that we're in at the moment. And there just feels like there needs to be too many stepping stones to get there. But also, secondly, is this actually a signing that's going to hit the ground running now? Is this really what we need? Do you think this helps Mark Skinner? Do you think this hinders Mark Skinner? I'm still sort of stuck in the abyss of the unknown, really, as to whether or not I feel this is going to be a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know if this is being done to Skinner or if this is being done for Skinner. And I think that can be a really important thing, because somebody that's brought in to help lighten the load and to share the job and to make sure that you have everything that you need as a manager, fabulous. If this is somebody that's got to come in and he basically has to report to her and doesn't necessarily have anything outside of his, only has control of things that are happening on match day and that everything else is being decided for him, is that going to be a good thing or not? So hopefully you've kind of understood what the top of my head is saying from this particular conversation. But yeah, that's really what we're looking at. So is it a good thing for Skinner? And also that academy question, do you think that she will be able to find a development route? Because I'm not sure there's many clubs in the WSL that can really claim to do that.
Which way around are you going?
Go around the other way. Let's go the other way. Let's go Connor, and then, you know, just for the lulz, really. You know, give me something entertaining to do whilst I'm sat here.
Yeah, your analogy. The way you phrased that was almost bang on. Are they doing this with Skinner, or are they doing this for him? Look, I know whatever way you said it, you know what I mean. But because the one thing I will say though about John Murtough as well, in that sense, we've made clearly this is. Obviously, the interview process has been going on for months and months. We don't know when Polly was offered it. She's still not officially announced by the club yet, so we don't even know when she's going to officially be, come in. So clearly, someone's been making these signings. We've made signings already. We've got 2 more on the way in the next few days. So clearly, someone's been doing it. Now, you can argue they're not the players that you want, they're not, and whatever else, but it's clearly been done. Now, you can argue on the men's side, obviously, it's completely falling apart at the moment. I don't think it's as bad as people make out, but people make the case for it. Fair enough. So I think, yeah, it's a good thing to have. You need people around you. Like you said, Skinner can't do it all. And with John Murtough, he certainly couldn't do it all. He's running both sides of the operation at the moment. And everyone going to him going, I want this. He's got the marketing department going, yeah, but I want this. And then he's got the sales and, every department going to him saying, I want this, waving their hand. And it's tough. So you need your people, your specialists in each position. So yeah, I think it's a good thing, and I think they all work well together. Like I said before, the CV suggests that it's not like we've clearly spent a long time interviewing and finding the right person. We've not just gone, yep, I want you straight away and just hired someone just to fill a role. It does seem like we've taken time with this. So that's only a good thing as well. So yeah, I think it's a good thing. And very quickly in your relation to the pathway from the devs to the academy to the first team, it's the same for every team. United can't do that on their own. There's a comment talking about, do we need a B team or an under-23? That's great, but if everyone else doesn't do it, then who are we playing? Because we're just playing next to nobody. Then you could do what the Spanish men's sides do and create a B team and put them in the lower leagues. So you have Man United B and they go into Tier 3 or the Championship or something like that. That potentially could work, but at the moment, the women's leagues are just not. There's just not enough teams to play those games. So you could set up under 23s or B teams, but for me, there's just not enough games to be able to make that work.
I'll go in on the first point you made to do with her. What was the purpose of her appointment? I think there's nothing wrong. So with regards to Mark Skinner, I think it helps to be accountable to somebody. I think it does. I think it drives standards. Barry, we know if there was no head teacher ever in our schools, you just naturally, if there was no one looking over your shoulder, quality control, quality assurance, standards just slip, don't they? And that would happen in any environment. So I think that's not a bad thing. I think she was also really important because if you've got John Murtough being pulled in the men's direction and the women's direction, we know which side he's going to spend more time on. And we can say it needs to be 50-50, but it just won't be, because the men's side is hundreds of millions of pounds revenue generating machine. So that's where the majority of his time will be. So it was critical that we had somebody whose time was going to be spent solely on the women's. And I think that's regardless. I think if Casey Stoney was still here, we would still need to have made that appointment. This isn't about Mark Skinner. This is about being a serious football club with a serious women's setup. I wouldn't be sat here going with Kaysonia, no, we don't do director of football, we've got Kaysonia, no, we do need one, okay, because we need to compete, and that's what some of the clubs had, but we didn't. With regards to the devs and the pathway, I think if you didn't watch our devs, and I didn't watch as much as I probably should have done, but you kept track of how they were doing, they were also battering everyone. So if we look at it just from a Man United point of view, our development squad might be better prepared if the caliber of other development squads was better, because then they were having to compete against other players that legitimately might get into the Chelsea senior side and the City senior side. It doesn't happen. Like Gareth Taylor's, I'm pretty sure he's openly said, I think Man City at one point, I don't know, it was last season, had like 3 subs because he said none of our academy players are good enough. Well, then they need to do something about that. So we're battling that. So if everyone's academies were better, produce better players, our players will be better positioned to do that. I feel like how it has to work at the moment, like with Tara Bourne, this is her 2nd season going on loan to the Championship. We know the quality of that isn't quite where it needs to be either, the Championship, because they're not all professional. So the quality of performer you're getting as you move down that league decreases as well. But again, we need to hope that that's something that's going to see an uplift with a result of what's happened with the current tournament that we've just gone through. So yes, the women's development squad aren't moving through as we'd like them to, but I think there's lots of things outside of our control of Man United that are preventing that from happening.
Look, I absolutely agree with everything you just said. The problem is there's a 2-year gap, isn't there, an age difference? If you're playing, if you're a 14 years old, you're playing under 16s, then you're going up to under 18s. There's this 2 years gap. They need to find a way of getting younger girls playing on a more regular basis and bringing that gap in. So you play under 8s, under 9s, under 10s, under 11s, under 12s, 13s, 14s, 15s, and 16s. You have to do that because that gives you a much more interesting path towards professional football. And it's a great way of doing it because we've got 4 or 5 really good young girls locally to us, who have played for the Welsh under 18s, etc. Our local side, Tufted United, has got a pretty good women's team, but it is under 14s, under 16s. So the problem is, where do you go from there? And the problem for Manchester United is, what do you do with the devs? You can't send them out on loan because, where you're going to do that. The only way you're going to send them out on loan is in Europe. You want to get them into PSG, Barcelona, Lyon, etc. Because they're probably good enough to do that. But then they're just going into the devs there. So the other thing is, you play regular games, behind closed doors games, where you're playing the devs against the first team on a regular basis. And they're learning the intricacies of top level football. They're learning how to hold the ball better, how to spin better, how to use their vision a lot better. Charlie's absolutely right. You go so far with the devs and then you can't learn. There's nowhere for you to go. There is no path for you to increase your skill set, and that is a big problem. So she could create this, as you quite rightly say, this under 23s. And by the way, I've got to say the comments have been absolutely brilliant tonight. Some of them are absolutely bang on with what people have said. You do learn from defeats. I totally agree, because it wasn't the point I was making. But if you have this B team or this under 23s, you've got to find teams for them to play. So this is where the likes of Polly should be canvassing other teams like City, like Liverpool, like Arsenal, like Chelsea, and saying, look, there's a massive disparity between the devs and the first team. What's wrong with us setting up an under 23s at a non-league kind of status, but let's make it competitive. Let's put our own kind of round robin tournament in and seeing where that comes, because that will give you a much better time. And if you've got first teamers coming back from injury, they don't want to go back into the devs. They want to be in a much better and all-rounded team. So, if Russo's injured, and she's playing Chelsea in the under 23s or the B squad, Millie Bright's in there, or somebody of quality that Russo can test herself again. So it's a good way of doing it. It's an unorthodox way of doing it, but something has to be done. Otherwise, you are going to see this huge chasm, and they'll never grow as footballers because there's just nowhere for them to go. And if you look at our men's side, everybody was raving about Zidane Iqbal. They're raving about Garnacho, etc., etc. when you actually watch these kids play, as good as they are, they would frustrate the hell out of you when you're playing in the same team with them, because they've got this youthful exuberance, because they haven't played with men, to kind of rein them in and say to them, look, hey, you can't do that at 65 minutes during a game when we're chasing a game. You can't do the round the world. You can't do a few step overs. You've got to hold that ball. You've got to caress it. And you've got to move it 2 or 3 yards. We need possession because we've got to push ourselves into the game. And that's what you need. And people forget all this about football. They look at it and they love it. And they look, Solskjaer's daughter, scored, didn't she, in a cup or something along those lines? People are going, great, she's got a potential. She hasn't. She's got that huge chasm to do it. And she also, by the way, she hasn't got a senior pro. She hasn't got a Katie Zellum talking to her and saying, great, but, this is what you should have done with it. You've got to keep the ball better, and this is what professional elite level football is about. We talk about Scott McTominay all the time where he goes missing. He can't play himself back into a game of football. Okay. The devs won't know if they make it up to the first team and they have a bad 2 or 3 minutes. They won't know and understand how to play themselves back into the game. Get it and drop it very, very short. Take it back. Get yourself 3 passes. Give yourself that confidence, and it just doesn't happen. And there's a lot more, as I say, than just thinking about how you push these guys across. It's when they go across, it's what you do with them. And I probably sound cruel here, and it's not right, but I'm sorry, but this is elite football. And the women, if they want to take themselves seriously, and rightly so they should, because they've been absolutely brilliant, these girls, absolutely brilliant. They've got to understand how ruthless football can be. One of the best things, and I'm going to shut up now, by the way, but one of the very, very best things that I noticed in the final part of the Euros was our in-game management and how Germany were, me and Connor spoke about it, Germany were aggressive, they were hard in the tackle, everything you want to see in a football team, but the girls just shrugged it off. No problem, you can come after me all you like. You can't learn that. You can't teach it. You've got to have that mentality within you to be able for you to do that. And I think we were magnificent. I'll tell you what, our England team, our men's team, our Manchester United men's team, any football team can look and learn about how the girls snubbed and absolutely shut Germany out for the last 10 minutes, 7 or 8 minutes, sorry. So that's how I see it anyway.
So excellent again from everybody there. But Martinelli, I think I just want to slightly change it from that. There's been some great ideas that have been mentioned there. Can Polly Bancroft or whoever becomes the head of women's football for Manchester United, can they make that happen? Because that's in their job remit. They're not in a position where they own the WSL. They can't necessarily do that. How does can Polly help to get those development opportunities, as we've just said, really for the whole WSL, not just for our great girls? So can you add that into your thoughts as well, please, girls?
Okay, so I'll give it a shot. I'm not muted, right? So I did one thing right. This is looking positive. All right, so in the US, and obviously I live here, so that's what I'm most familiar with. The lower levels of development, all the way down to high school, okay, and even earlier than that, get looked at by the U.S. Soccer, okay, and then they get tagged as being someone that, hey, we want to watch these girls. We will watch them develop. They get sent emails or letters that says, hey, we like the look of you, but the current club you're on isn't really going to develop your game. Take a look at what's called a travel soccer. So we have what's called travel soccer. Now, they don't really subsidize very well. So it really comes down to families. And some families are wholeheartedly in it, and other families just can't afford it. And so then what they do is they find the closest, strongest football club for these girls to just go practice with, okay, and just work with. All right. And this is something if Girma, okay, Naomi Girma, who is the center back for the San Diego Wave, who came out of Stanford, was #1 draft pick in the NWSL, is playing for Casey. They did an article on her in Sports Illustrated, and it really addressed, and I wouldn't say addressed, but it really told a story of what happens to these players in terms of this is how U.S. soccer works. They have coaches all the way down, and they have scouts, that are located. I mean, Anson, who is the football coach, the famous football coach from women's football coach from the University of North Carolina, okay, who won the first Women's World Cup. He coached the first Women's World Cup, and then he went back to North Carolina. He had Lucy Bronze, and because when her family wanted her to develop, they just Google searched the best women's football training. And University of North Carolina runs camps all summer. And so Lucy Bronze came over, and he's like, you'll be back, and they made her an offer, and she was over here for a year or whatever. But she was interested in the national team in England. And I believe, maybe I'm wrong, but this is what I heard. And this is what, I found out is that, Anson called Emma Hayes and said, hey, you've got great talent here. Give her a look. All right. So those are the things that from the seeds here that are being done. If I was going to do it on your level, okay, which you guys are passionate and you go to your local clubs and you develop that way, look into maybe there's a couple clubs. And with regards to the Development Academy, obviously these girls are coming to Manchester United for development. Look in if the competition is not strong enough for these girls, maybe look to the men's side and have them train, do a squad. Oh gosh, I can't remember the name, but it's basically a friendly against, someone else. It doesn't mean anything. And sometimes you don't even keep score, but it's just a matter of seeing how you can compete against each other. Okay. Intramural. That's the word. We use the word intramural, and it's in college. It's used. It's like you really like the sport. You're not going to go after the team. You're not going to be on the team, but you still really like the sport and you want to play. So you play intramurals. That would be something that I would seriously look into for the development team as it applies, because it sounds like I don't know the distances that we're talking about with the development squads. But I do think that playing against the men, the boys, okay, and it could be, they could be older, younger, whatever. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with levels, okay, how they can do that. I think that the question posed to me is, could Polly do this? Okay, looking at her CV, what she has done at Brighton, one of the things that I have read over and over about her is how creative she is and how she can figure out a way of getting stuff done. Okay, so she can implement, she can theorize, and she can bring it to fruition. All right, and that's a huge quality to have. I also was impressed with her business acumen, okay? Because let's be honest, okay? The owners of Manchester United don't give a flying fig that it's Manchester United. They think it's pretty cool, things like that. And if they could buy the Yankees, they would, but they'd buy Dallas first, okay? What they do care about is the bottom line. Manchester United is the ones that are making profit. They spend the least amount of money, but they're making a profit on it, okay, for the women's side. So if she can look at a business plan, look at a business proposal of how to progress the women in a profitable manner to the club with a percentage of investment that would say triple, fivefold, whatever in number of years, and look at it as a capital investment that they can yield a bigger profit later, so like, give me $7, I'll turn it into 70 for you type thing. They'll go for it, okay, because they need the money for Tampa Bay, Okay, that they will definitely go for it, but it has to be a proposal. The checkpoints have to be made. I think that Manchester United need a position like Polly. I don't like the way that she is positioned within the organization. I've already said that. And I think Skinner needs to be accountable. Like Charlie said, I am all for that because I'm not sold on Skinner. I never have been. I don't wish him to fail. I wish him to succeed, but I'm just not sold on him. So because as far as I'm concerned, he has a track record. So, but I do think that she can make it happen, given her business background, her recruiting, her talent acquisition, her experience with UEFA, her experience with dealing with a lot of different cultures and a lot of different people, and just being able to get everybody on the same page, moving in the same direction. Okay. So I look forward to that. But I do think that if they could set something up the way US Soccer sets it up, it'll benefit the clubs, it'll benefit the professional clubs in WSL, and it'll definitely benefit your national team.
Awesome. Well done, Marty. Super duper. Connor, do you just want to jump in with your little question? We'll get Ellie to answer that first of all, if that's okay.
Yeah, I can do. It's a very simple one in terms of, obviously, whenever Polly does get announced, we don't know when that's going to be. What the first thing you'd do if you were Polly, you're going in day one. I'm going to have to mute one of you because that's really bad feedback. Sorry, whoever I've just muted. Sorry, Ellie. But yeah, Ellie, I'll come to you first on it then. In terms of what would you do? You're Polly, you're walking into Manchester United women, speak to Skinner. What's the very first thing you'd look at and do? Would you look at? So it could be a particular contract. It can be, no, we want to sort, I don't know, development squad out. We want to look at this. What is the very first thing you do if you were Polly walking in at Manchester United?
Well, I know it's all what's been going on right now, but I would sit down and I'd get that contract for Russo sorted. I'd give her more money. I really would, because I can't see her going. We don't want it to go. She's been outstanding this summer. Now there'll be so many clubs after her, like abroad clubs and everything. Like I don't want her to go. So what we discussed last week on here, I want more money for her. I want them to sit down and say, yeah, look, the contract with Russo, should we give her more money to stay? Should we not? I don't know. Or maybe it's about ambition. I don't know. And then the other thing about the development squad, like I know we have a Regent talent club. But maybe I think that's only to 16-year-olds. Maybe up the age as well, because I think it's only for 12 to 16-year-olds or something like that. Maybe up the age, and same with our WSL clubs. I don't think every one of them has a Regent talent club, but that's what needs to happen. Because I'd love to see some of our devs in the first team, but like what's been said, maybe it is a bit too much at the minute. But like Chloe Williams, I'd love to see her in our senior squad, but she's always going out alone, so I just don't really get that much time to see her. It's only like on the devs games, because she's really good. Same with is it Neve Murphy and everything? They're really good players, but that's what I mean. They won't stand a chance in our team right now with everyone we're bringing in. So, I mean, like I said, loans are good for them. They are, but I'd love to see them in our first team, because they are a part of Manchester United, but they're always in the development squad, and they've got like I said, they've not got like what's been said. They've not got anything to work towards, just loans. That's what I mean. It's just loans. So that's the first thing I'd say. The development squad. I'd love to see that change.
There we go. I've got to be honest, every time this is mentioned, ever since I found out that Polly was coming, I feel like Polly Put the Kettle On is the only song that's been going through my head for the last 30 seconds. I've been sat in the Polly Put the Kettle On, we're all happy. And that should be the first job of any English person, should it not, to put the kettle on, because that solves everything. The remaining three of you, Stu, Charlie and Marty, by all means answer that question if we can Try and
I'll
put
be
it to about 30 seconds. That would be superb. First things you'd like to do.
I'll be brief. She should ban TikTok and sort the environment out. That's what she needs to do. Make sure the environment for the players is ideal and get rid of TikTok.
I would say identify most valuable playing assets, and we know who they are, and get those sorted out sooner rather than later, whether that means contracts and scenarios that make them want to stay, or if they're adamant they're not going to, start the process of replacing them.
I think she should renegotiate Tooney's contract. They signed Tooney before the Euros. Tooney performed, awesome. I think they should re-sign her. Okay, reorganize her contract, make it public in terms of that we're reorganizing her contract because it's deserved. Do exactly what Ellie said in terms of signing Russo to an appropriate contract, because obviously to me it's a hometown discount. And then take a look at the ones that wouldn't sign the contract extensions and are playing for a year, and find out what it's going to take them to stay. Or do they want to stay? Because some of them are in conflict with Mark Skinner's setup, and we know that, but others aren't. So.
Fair dues, thank you. On a new contract, I like that idea. Connor, what would be the first thing you would do if you were Polly?
Yeah, it would be
a scary thought, but if you were, what would you do?
It would be the contract. I brought that one a second ago. There's a reason Ona's on the thumbnail today. Because it was between Russo or Ona to stick on the thumbnail. And I went for Ona in the NBA. It would be the contract. Give Russo whatever she wants, to be honest, because you cannot, if we're going to progress, you cannot lose a player like her. And Ona for that, and Jackie you throw into that as well. Those three players tie him down. And I actually agree with Marty. It's a good shout, actually, to his contract as well, because her value would have risen since the Euros. I think when me, Charlie, and Phil did the show the other day, she went into that tournament as a very good young player coming up. Now she's, superstardom coming out of the Euros. Wait for the 4G to catch back up. Come on, Barry, you can do it.
Excellent stuff. Now, guys, I know I promised you a palate cleanser. I'm trying my best. I'm trying, and it's for that reason. But I do feel like we are going to have to close this down now. And I know we've got that little palate cleanser. Marty, I want to keep that until next time. I want to give that the time that it deserves, rather than just throwing it around everyone for 20 seconds. Because I think it's a really important question with regards to the ticket. So if you're available, we'll book you on for next week. That'll be superb to have you back. From my point of view, I was watching something in the services whilst I was having my generic burger from the one that's available at Corley. And whilst I was eating that, I was, believe it or not, I feel dirty saying it again, but I was listening to an argument that Jurgen Klopp was having. He was complaining about fixture congestion. I thought, I wish we could have fixture congestion in the WSL other than just international ones. But he ended it by saying about the most important thing in football, which is the players. I'd like to just remind Mr. Klopp that he's made a very fatal mistake there. Of course, the players are vital. What would we do without the footballers? But let's be honest, would they be being paid as much, and would it be worth doing as much if it wasn't for the fans? We've had a fantastic fans forum once again. I'm sorry I've not been able to read out as many of your comments as normal, but that is literally due to the fact that I can't see any of them. And as you can see, my internet was about as reliable. Well, I don't know, about as reliable as the Titanic, really, I suppose, would be the right one there, because it's sunk a few times. But thank you very much to all of you popping on, all of the fans, from Stu and Marty to Ellie to Charlie, champion once again, and Connor, of course. Superb to have you all. Next week, I can guarantee you I'm going to be back in my house and normal service will be resumed. But until then, thanks again, everybody. It's been absolutely awesome. And I'll see you at the other end of the M6.
Sorry, Barry, I've ruined your outro. I really wanted to shout out. I've been promising John that I was going to shout his comment out that he put in right at the start of the show. I could not end it without shouting out. I do apologise. Literally 4 minutes into the show, John put this in. I said I was going to do it. So happy birthday for Sunday, John.
Absolutely,
I hope United
John.
do get a win, obviously at home to Brighton for the men's side. And yeah, if we announce some contract, I think you're going to be getting a new signing on Monday. Well, we are going to get a new signing on Monday anyway.
Monday is Paris.
100%. So,
And I'll tell you what, John, we would sing happy birthday to you, but I've heard Connor sing and nobody needs that. So probably best not to.
No, you do not want that.
Brilliant. Happy birthday, John. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you all next week.
birthday.